I'm Murray Clark, and as Gypsy's current chair, I thank you for joining us this morning as we honor the service and accomplishments of Tom King, but also the legacy of Charles L. Whistler. As always, we're honored to have Mayor Ballard and Winnie Ballard with us this morning, as well as other city government leaders. I would start out by asking all those who have served in the Ballard administration or prior administrations, local elected officials, state elected officials, past and present, please stand so we can thank you and recognize you for your service. Susan. I'd also like to personally thank the members of the Whistler Selection Committee, the Award Committee, each of whom has worked in the past, continues to work now, to ensure this event and the award itself continue to embody the spirit of civic volunteerism that Chuck Whistler so often displayed. This year's committee members are Deborah Daniels, Lisa Dietrich, John Hall, Toby McClamrock, Greg Schinkel, and Yvonne Shaheen. Let's thank them for their work on this committee. On the screen, you've seen rolling pictures and names of past Whistler awardees, and I believe we have about 10 of them here this morning. I want to recognize them, and as I call their name, maybe if you could stand up, and then perhaps we can hold our applause at the end. Dave Frick, 1984. Sorry, David, 1984. Yvonne Shaheen, 1999. Faye Williams, 2001, Jerry Bepko, 2004, John Neighbors, 2009, Sam Odell, 2011, Dave Shane, 2012, John Mutz, 2013, and Martha Lampkin last year, 2014. Let's give them a round of applause. Oh, Sally Rowland, I didn't see it. I'm sorry, Sally. Well, you get your own special round of applause. Thanks also to our title sponsor this morning, Faegre Baker Daniels, and to our premier sponsor, Ivy Tech Community College. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Also like to thank this morning's table sponsors, Indiana State Museum, Indiana Sports Corporation, and the Indy Chamber. Will you join me in thanking the sponsors for this morning? During the program this morning, we'll learn more about Gypsy and the legacy of Charles Whistler and the award named after him. On behalf of Faegre Baker Daniels, where Charles Whistler was a partner at the time of his death in 1981, I hope each of you takes the time today to appreciate what Indianapolis has become and how its greatness would not be possible without the contributions of volunteer leaders like Tom King and Chuck Whistler. Now I'd like to invite John Merlin, himself a noteworthy civic leader of this great community, now with Old National Bank, to deliver our invocation. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to you and to Molly. I appreciate you inviting me to participate this morning. It is of particular interest to me because of this guy named Tom King, who I happen to know. Tom and I had a brief conversation last week about things in general, and I reminded him that I'd been praying for him all my life. And he said, and I've needed it every day. But this is a chance to do it officially, so will you join me in prayer? Our loving and gracious God, we give thanks to you for this day and for your many blessings. We are thankful, especially at this season of Thanksgiving, for the many ways that you have blessed our city, our community, and all those who have had the vision to create this marvelous place we call our home. We're thankful especially for people with vision like Chuck Whistler, who saw what needed to be done and went about doing it with the help of so many others, everyone in this room, and especially those who also are recipients of the award named in his honor and in his memory. We're thankful for the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee, the way it has learned from our past, is working hard in our present, and is creating a vision for our future, a vision that involves helping and lifting up all citizens in our community. And today we especially ask your blessing, God, upon Tom King, our most recent Whistler recipient. Tom, truly a citizen of this community, born on the east side, went to Tech High School and Butler University, and spent his professional career in such organizations as Indianapolis Newspapers, the Indianapolis Chamber, Eli Lilly and Company, and now the Indiana State Museum. This humble servant leader exemplifies what this award is all about. The way he has invested his time and talent and treasures to do so many significant things and to help people of all races and colors and creeds, of all economic status. His leadership, his caring nature, we celebrate today. We're also thankful for his wife, Verletta, who has been at his side throughout, and for the members of his family who are here with us to celebrate today as well. God, please continue to bless Tom King. And now thank you, God, for this time of food and fellowship, for the food we're about to receive, and for those who prepared it and will serve it. May it bless us, body, mind, and spirit, as we go about doing the work you have called us to do, to continue to make this place the great community that it is. And especially for those who are not able to care for themselves. May the work of this organization and others be lifted up especially for them. Thank you, God, for your many blessings. We ask this all in your name, one God, for all people, today and always. And all God's people say, Amen.
Thank you, John. Breakfast will now be served, and we'll begin our program shortly with a video about Gypsy and Chuck Whistler's legacy, followed by a video presentation about our award recipient. Enjoy your breakfast.
Since its establishment in 1965, the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee, Gypsy, has been the driving force behind the public-private partnerships that transformed Indianapolis into a world-class city. Early projects included development of Eagle Creek Park and the Downtown Convention Center, as well as the groundbreaking passage of unified city-county government known as Unigov. At the forefront of these accomplishments were Gypsy's early leaders, including attorney Charles L. Whistler. A native Hoosier, Whistler spent his entire career with the law firm now known as Faegre Baker Daniels. Throughout that career, Whistler generously volunteered his time and considerable talent to assist in improving Indianapolis.
Chuck was a great guy. He came off the farm, out of the farmland, so he understood working for the future, taking care of seed corn, building things, great work ethic, cared about others, saw solutions, understood problems and issues, but always was in the effort to try to build the solution, create the solution.
The Progress Committee came along with at least the thrusts of leadership of some civic persons. Now, Chuck Whistler was among the group, but he became especially important because his legal skills led to the drafting, as I recall, of most of the legislation that we finally offered during the General Assembly of 1969.
As Chuck Whistler was assisting in the transformation of the city, the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee was gaining momentum as a bipartisan alliance of community leaders dedicated to improvement of the city. Today, Gypsy continues its role as a convener of thought, dialogue, and action aimed at improving Indianapolis and enhancing its image. With more than 100 members, Gypsy remains the driving force behind efforts that have made Indianapolis a world-class city. From improved race relations to cultural and arts programs to the new Eskenazi Hospital on the Wishart campus.
The Progress Committee has really covered the entire waterfront, I think, in terms of the development of Indianapolis. At the beginning, it was really the very structure of government. But for Gypsy, there wouldn't have been Unigov. Then we got into a bricks and mortar phase, which we've really continued over the years, extending from the convention center to most recently our advocacy for the building of a new hospital for the most needy of our community.
That has been the value of the Progress Committee and its leadership over the years, is to look at these community-wide issues with its broad-based membership and figure out the best way to get things resolved. That's what Chuck Whistler was all about. That's what the Progress Committee is all about.
In honor of Chuck Whistler's legacy, Gypsy leaders presented the first annual Charles L. Whistler Award in 1983. Today, the Whistler Award is the highest honor that can be bestowed on a citizen who has brought together Indianapolis's public and private sectors for city improvement.
When you receive an award from somebody who helped shape your life, it becomes very, very special. And Chuck Whistler was special to me, and winning the award made it even more special.
The award extends the recognition of the importance of the work that it represents, the importance of people trying to do leadership work that serves the best interests of the broader community, that takes on the challenges that need to be assumed, that provides imaginative and creative thought to the solutions of those problems. Chuck did all that, and it extends the recognition of the importance of that. And then obviously the anchor to it is the public-private nature of the recognition of the award. People working across sectors of the community to try to make things better for everybody.
The name of each recipient of the Whistler Award is engraved on a bronze and granite monument located in the Charles L. Whistler Memorial Plaza outside the city market. As Indianapolis continues to develop, the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee looks forward to presenting the Charles L. Whistler Award to those individuals who follow in Chuck Whistler's footsteps as servant leaders, inspiring others to dedicate their time and talents to the success of this great city.
Tom has a glimmer in his eye, and there's always this light in his eye that just kind of says life is pretty good, life is rich, I'm blessed beyond measure. But he's never forgotten that there was this humble place, and there was a young boy in an inner city school, and I've had this young boy in an inner city school. I've had an opportunity to do great things in this city, and I've never forgotten it.
Tom is an extraordinary record of making a difference in Indianapolis. He's always the guy that wanted to be sure that everything was done right, that everyone in the community was included. He wanted to be sure that we could have a way to pay for all the big ideas that everyone had. And he's been maybe the solid rock of the city for all these years since his days at the Chamber.
But the thing that really impressed me and made me really pay attention to him is when the Chamber did, and I think they called it the gift or something, I can't remember what they called it, but it was this huge study about infrastructure, and it was back in the 80s, and it was a real awareness raising for the body politic about how important this was. And so I watched Tom, and I knew that he was the power behind it. I knew, he was the impetus, but he was behind the scenes, and he was letting his leadership shine and, letting lots of people take credit for it. It was a real study in leadership for me, and it made me really understand what a true leader is, and I was impressed with him.
I chair the board at the Indiana State Museum. The board was going through a transition with the then director. Tom and I talked, and he said, basically that if I was unable to find someone, that to give him a call. And so, we went through a process, and by we, I mean Governor Daniels and his chief of staff, Earl Good, and myself, and the head of DNR. And we got together and looked at a number of candidates, and ultimately, through that process, came to the conclusion that Tom King was the best person for us to tap. He was gracious enough. Our attitude was that this was going to be an interim appointment until we could actually find a permanent leader for the museum. To our surprise, and perhaps to his, but maybe not so much to him, he loved the job and continues to love it today.
He's put the State Museum on a very responsible, sustainable, trustworthy course. Its resources are significant, and once again he has done it in such a way that he's made it a part of the community.
We can look back at our downtown today and we can thank those people for the kind of vision and leadership that they had to get us where we are now. And lots of people come to our community and just take, sort of full advantage of all these things and then take it for granted, frankly, because it's just here. And this place wasn't here in the early 70s and in the early 80s. It was only burgeoning, and now it's thriving, and it's because of people like Tom King that have made it happen.
Every step of the way, Tom was there. He was there early, and he's a real quiet, behind-the-scenes leader. He doesn't get as much credit as he really deserves, but he doesn't need it or want it because he was there. He was always about getting to the goal.
There is a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King who says, some of the most beautiful things in this world are things that you cannot see. You look out at night and you see the stars as they bedeck the heavens like swinging lanterns of eternity, and you think you've seen it all. But no, you cannot see the law of gravity that holds them there. I think Tom has impacted the city of Indianapolis from a vantage point where people recognize it just through his work at the Chamber of Commerce, through IPL, through the Center for Leadership Development, and his board chair role with the Lilly Foundation. People see him in that visible way. I think there's yet another component where Tom has influenced the city in ways that people have never seen. And I think it's because, I'm biased, I think it's because he has touched directly and indirectly, literally the lives of thousands of young people and has influenced their trajectory of success, and yet 95% of those young people could never name him.
I know how important his family is, how much he loves his children and his grandchildren, how important Verletta, what a great pair and a great team they've been, really quite remarkable. And every place that Tom has been, including our city as a whole, is better off because of his effective leadership, his sincerity, his genuineness, and his commitment to be sure it's done in such a way that everybody is included.
Tom, it's a thrill to congratulate you on winning the 2015 Charles Whistler Award. I think both of us remember Chuck Whistler. He was so instrumental in the foundation of UNIGOV and so many things that followed from that. And you were by my side really throughout that period of time that I was attempting to become mayor of Indianapolis, attempting to begin to forge programs that you have enhanced with your leadership. My goodness, the number of things in which you have been involved professionally as well as in education. I appreciated especially our opportunity to visit during awards that you presented to me a couple of years ago at the State Museum. It reminded me of your days with the Chamber of Commerce, with Eli Lilly and Apalco, with Butler and IUPUI. with a host of civic organizations that have meant so much to so many people of all ages. You are the most deserving winner of this award because you have covered the field of personal endeavor with vision, with courage, and magnificent discipline over the years. Once again, I congratulate you on a signal victory. I am so happy for you.
Great video, great tribute, Tom. Last September, about 500 people gathered downtown to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Gypsy and to hear from the 5 Unigov mayors, Senator Lugar, Bill Hudnut, Steve Goldsmith, Bart Peterson, and of course Greg Ballard. Over the course of an hour-long panel discussion led expertly by our friend Jim Shella, we listened to the recollections and insight of 5 extraordinary men whose courageous leadership, vision, and servant spirit have helped mold the character of this city that has advanced in a way I suspect that far beyond the wildest expectations of the community leaders that helped form Gypsy some 50 years ago. It was a civics lesson for everybody who cares about our city. What we learned, of course, is how fortunate we are and we have been to have such great mayors, such great leaders over the course of the last 5 decades, but also the many selfless people who helped each one of them along the way, including, of course, Tom King. Tom King fits as perfectly as anyone I've ever seen the example of Chuck Whistler and the example Chuck set for all of us. He has for many years exemplified the humble, effective, committed civic leader for whom this award is meant. He is a tremendous addition to Gypsy's list of remarkable men and women who previously received this award and helped establish the culture of private-public collaboration so vital to the success of our city. For the purpose of presenting Tom the Whistler Award, it's now my pleasure to introduce a man who has been a true friend of Gypsy over the last 8 years. I bet the mayor had never even heard of Gypsy when he was first elected, or if he had, wasn't sure what to think of it. But he's partnered with Gypsy during his tenure in a way I believe that has benefited all the people of this city. We're so grateful for his collaborative spirit. So for the last time at this breakfast, on behalf of all members of Gypsy, let me say thank you, Mayor, not only for what you have meant to Gypsy, but also for what you and Winnie have meant to all the citizens of this city you've served. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Greg Ballard. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. That was nice. Very much appreciate that. But I must tell you, this is in line of a confession. We have the only table up here that has Long's Donuts. Thank you, Molly, Tim, for that. Tom has really been a mainstay in Indianapolis for a long time, for so many decades, as so many of you know. Really, in the true Whistler fashion. This really does kind of personify, you really do personify what this award is about. So much valuable insight to institutions. You know, he had a consulting business, rolled through my office a few times. Obviously, helping organizations like the Goodwill Foundation, Goodwill Industry, Benjamin Harrison Home Foundation, Arthur Jordan Foundation, Sports Corp. You know about his past with the Chamber and Eli Lilly and now the State Museum, and he clearly can't keep a job. I don't think it's very good. I'm about to find out what that is. But the good thing for all of us is that Tom is incapable of retiring. He continues to give back as the CEO of the State Museum. He's done a remarkable job there. I'm sure most of you have been in there lately. It is stunning work here in the heart of our city, and really represents the state really, really well, and done a magnificent job there. So this award really, though, is about leveraging those public and private partnerships. I'm not sure there's really much more representative than what you have been doing for a long time here. You've really used your knowledge, your experience to enhance the civic institutions of the city of Indianapolis. All of the state has benefited because of that. You're truly engaged in almost everything that happens in this city. You obviously know what's going on. You have great partnership with so many people in the city, and it's just a joy to be around you because of your community spirit, the service that you provide to all of us. It is an honor to be here today, to be able to present this to you. You have been, and you will continue to be, a great leader for the city of Indianapolis, and all of us here thank you this morning. Congratulations to you, Tom. Get a picture, then it's all yours.
I guess I can set this water next to the... Thank you for the kind words. It's a bit overwhelming to receive an award like the Whistler Award. It's humbling because I knew Chuck Whistler. It's humbling because he was an exceptional human being whose legal brilliance created the unigov form of metropolitan government that set this city apart from others at the time. He also was an extraordinary servant leader who cared and did for others. Mayor Ballard, before going further, allow me to recognize you and your service to this city. You and Winnie have personalized the office of mayor, and you have taken some courageous positions while mayor that, had you not taken them, could have unraveled all that has been accomplished here over the last half century. Thank you. Almost 25 years ago, when I left the Indianapolis Chamber of Commerce as its president, I wrote the following paragraph in the Chamber's newsletter. Success means different things to different people. To me, it has been an opportunity to become competent, and notice I said to become competent because I wasn't at the start, to be competent in a very unique job. It is being married to a wife that is as balanced as anyone I've ever met and who lends me perspective and honesty when things get out of focus. It is working at the same place for 21 years with a group of people that I respect and admire. It is learning to trust in God when things seem a little out of my control. It is finding a new challenge at a time in my life when it's time for someone else to enjoy that same privilege that I've had over the past 21 years. I guess this is about all that an ordinary person from Indianapolis's Near East Side ought to hope for. And yet I know there is more to come in the new opportunity I have to pursue. When I wrote that paragraph, I think I was thinking that this was the period at the end of a paragraph to describe the end of a very unique time for me, but that now my work life was about to become normal. I couldn't have been more wrong. That paragraph could be used to describe the next segment of my life, as well as the next, and the next, and the next, and I'm certain it will be equally valid when I conclude this current segment of my life at the Indiana State Museum and Historic Sites. Of course, there are people to thank and acknowledge. First of all, family. Verlette and I celebrated our 50th anniversary this past summer, and I couldn't ask for a better life partner. Our children, Brian, Scott, and Greg, have been great fun and have become great friends as adults. And then there's our grandchildren, Ben, John, Will, and Catherine here in Indianapolis. And these two good-looking guys right here are John and Will. Here in Indianapolis. And then River, Tyler, and Kyle in Colorado. They're all special delights for us. So now that I got the family part out of the way, I can probably get down and do this a little bit better. I also want to acknowledge a number of mentors I have had primarily as a result of the chamber job. That list of individuals includes all of those who served as chairman while I was on the staff, but particularly Tom Benford, who taught me many lessons, but most importantly, the value of building trust. Then there are friends. That's friends and collaborating friends. The friends include the Friday morning breakfast group that keeps everyone in it grounded. This group includes buddies from high school and college days, and if the conversation strays much beyond Butler basketball, you get brought down to size pretty quickly. Then there have been the collaborating friends that you join up with to get things done. A lot of them are past award winners here. In this latter category, I have to express my appreciation to Jim Morris for including me as a worker bee to help realize his extraordinary visions. There are others in this collaborative group of friends that I appreciate and respect and will sign on to whatever it is they want to do. In addition to Morris, this group includes people like Dave Frick, Sandy Nam, Ted Bohm, John Mutt, Susan Williams, John Krause, Dennis Bland, Bill Brown, Earl Good, Bob Bowen, Martha Lampkin, and others. They are people who are about getting the job done and not worrying about who gets the credit. And then there are those who I know who care deeply about Indianapolis and can be counted on for sound advice and perspective. That group of people who gives you as free with their advice, and it's always good advice, include Al Oak, Fred Green, Denny Sutherland, Judith Sabula, Ted Grossnickel, Clay Brewer, among others. The people I've worked with over the years also have been special, and I'm proud of the lingering friendship with those with whom I've worked. John Merlin and Tina Sullivan are representative of that group, and they have been loyal employees and even better friends. Tina and I are working together again at the Indiana State Museum, and she has this one last chance to make me look good. Speaking of make me look good, let me say a word about the Indiana State Museum. And first of all, some of that senior staff and leadership group is down here, and if they just raise their hands, because they're the ones that have to put up with me now. So they're down here. Most of us know the State Museum as that extraordinary building that Bill Brown designed, Susan Williams built it, and my friends at Kripe were the owner's reps during its construction phase that sits next to the Idle George Museum on West Washington Street. But what many do not know is that that building anchors a statewide system that includes 11 other historic sites around Indiana, and offers the opportunity to celebrate, explore, and steward everything that is authentically wondrous about Indiana in a way that no other museum can, and at a level of excellence that make it a competitive advantage in competing with other states. What red-blooded Hoosier would want that potential to go unrealized, or worse, go unseen? Please visit us, and if you like what you see, support us and bring others. You're going to see some pretty exciting things from this system over the next few years. A couple of weeks ago, I mentioned to a group that I was biking the Natchez Trace with that I was trying to collect my thoughts for this presentation. Mark Lawrence of the Indiana University Public Policy Institute challenged me to talk more about the future than the past. I've given Mark's challenge considerable thought, and Mark, as I admitted to you earlier, I came up short. I wish I could lay out some profound vision for Indianapolis' future that would cause you to marvel at its brilliance. Unfortunately, I can't. Vision is Morris's shtick. I do have some thoughts for you to consider about process and culture, however, that I think we need to attend to in the future in order to make sure that whatever initiative is envisioned has the cultural infrastructure to make it happen. This cultural makeup is what I believe sets Indianapolis apart from other cities we compete with. It is way too precious to take for granted. You consider this as my advice to Mayor-elect Hogsett, since everybody else is giving him advice right now. And it all began with Chuck Whistler, Gypsy, and Unigov. The first element of this cultural infrastructure has to be a common set of values. Values that are deep and broad enough to hold other values that might divide us. The speaker at this year's Start with Art luncheon reminded us that we have to put in the work to find the deeper common ground. I think he called it the deeper vessel that can hold whatever divergent positions there are that might keep us from achieving our goals. This requires difficult work, but avoiding it will derail the best of visions. In this area, I think it is important to remember the work of people like Amos Brown, Bill Crawford, Julia Carson, Bill Mays, and Glenn Howard, who worked to achieve the big picture agenda while reminding us of how that larger agenda could be used to address other, more fundamental issues. They made us aware that national sports festivals, Final Fours, Pan Am Games, Super Bowls are worthy only if they can be used to lift up the entire community. And as a result of their work, I think we did. Secondly, trust has to be a part of that culture. This requires operatives within the system to carry out their assignments in a manner that builds trust. And it requires those same operatives to receive the work and intentions of others with trust. Tom Benford was so good at this, and I'm not sure we've replaced him totally in this area yet. One of my early lessons from Benford came in the form of a one-line admonition that became one of the most important lessons of my life. The Chamber was in charge of economic development during my era, but job creation was becoming more of a political issue. Bill Hudnut, as mayor at the time, hired his own economic development director. My own professional insecurity as a result of the appointment played out in the form of mistrust for the motives of the person appointed. One day when meeting with Benford, I was telling Tom about a particular action of this individual that I was happy about. I concluded my lament by saying, I just don't trust this guy. Now, I didn't use the word guy, but my wife made me clean that up because my grandkids are here. Benford looked at me and with that deep, measured, gravelly voice said, well, why don't you treat him like you trust him and see what happens? I got the point. The person that I had previously mistrusted, and I ended up collaborating effectively on a number of economic development successes. It was a valuable lesson that I remind myself of regularly. The next element of this community Shangri-La that I think we've created that I believe is needed is inclusion. We have to find a way to let as many people as possible play in whatever sandbox we identify as our vision. Sports as an economic community development strategy is brilliant, partly because it is so easy to include large numbers of people. This isn't as easy with other initiatives, but nonetheless necessary. And if we can't engage large numbers, we have to find a way for various stakeholders to see that they are represented in the initiative being pursued. Before I leave this point, let me be clear. Exclusion or discrimination in any form, and however veiled, will destroy whatever we have achieved over the last 50 years. And Mayor Ballard, thank you again for your stand on the RFRA legislation. The final element is a culture of people who don't care who gets the credit. Sometimes we might lead, sometimes we might follow, sometimes we will support someone else's agenda in exchange for them at some point supporting ours. We might not be able to support everyone's agenda, nor they ours all the time, but the relationships must be such that we'll be open to collaboration whenever possible. We have worked hard to develop and nurture these cultural attributes over the last half century. They are what set this community apart from other communities, but they also cannot be taken for granted. Ron Heifetz, in his brilliant book titled Leadership Without Easy Answers, talks about the myth of leadership is the myth of the lone warrior, the solitary individual whose heroism and brilliance enabled him to lead the way. Heifetz's point is that this charismatic, independent model of leadership is a myth, and we need to get over it. We are all in this together, and those cultures and individuals that can overcome this myth with common values, trust among each other, inclusion, and unselfish pursuit of the agreed-upon goals will be the winners. I'm not as certain about the opportunities that might come our way, nor the specific opportunities we need to create. Certainly, we own the sports franchise, and we would be foolish to relinquish that hard-earned position. I suspect that the area with the most potential for us to break away from the crowd once again is in the biotech world. With Lilly and the growing number of biotech companies that surround it, the IU School of Medicine, and the thoughtful philanthropy present in Indianapolis, we've got a pretty good foundation to get a lot of things done in this area. I am sure that there will be other initiatives that I'm just not smart enough to envision right now. But unless we're prepared with deep values that are shared broadly, trust, inclusion, and unselfish collaboration will not be able to compete successfully. 6 or 7 years ago, I was invited to give the commencement address at my old high school, Tech, here in Indianapolis. I thought that was pretty cool until the person extending the invitation concluded, "Oh, and could you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less?" I thought about this assignment and couldn't imagine what I could say in 5 minutes that would have the depth of thought the occasion merited. While sitting at my laptop one evening trying to write that talk, the television program Dancing with the Stars was playing in the background. Boy, I hate to admit that I was watching that show. Nevertheless, on that particular evening, one of the contestants was a young rodeo bull rider named Ty Murray. Following his performance, the host of the show stuck a microphone in his face and said, "Ty, how is being on Dancing with the Stars like riding bulls?" Ty paused ever so briefly and said, "Well, it's similar in that you're never quite ready, but it's just your turn." That response became the theme for that commencement address, and that simple truth, "You're never quite ready, it's just your turn," has been true for many of the things that Indianapolis has achieved over the last 50 years, and it is certainly true for me in the career I've enjoyed. The technical expertise might not have been there in the beginning to be successful, but the culture was. The elements of common values, trust, inclusion, and unselfish collaboration have allowed this community and me to take risks, enter the fray, and then, more often than not, prevail. These cultural attributes that started with Unigov, Gypsy, and community leaders like Chuck Whistler have served us well whenever it was, quote, our turn. These cultural attributes have become a part of the spiritual makeup of this city, and they appear to set us apart from others. It is my strong suggestion here today that we covet, nurture, and employ these attributes into the future when we pursue our future visions and goals. And I think if we will do that, it just might be that our continued attention to deep common values, trust in each other, inclusive pursuit of overarching goals, and unselfish collaboration will prove to be every bit as important as whatever else we might achieve along the way. Thank you for this recognition, and thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Tom. That was great. Really appreciate it. Congratulations again. As we conclude, a few thank yous. First of all, to our Gypsies small but mighty staff, who on the heels of uber successful 50th anniversary celebration dinner has put this breakfast together. Our executive director, stand up please, Molly Dewberry-Kraft, and our executive director, Brooke Thomas. Wave. Thank you, ladies. Thanks also, Chancellor Dr. Kathleen Lee, for allowing us to use this wonderful facility again. This is the third straight year, I think, Kathy. And it's really a wonderful venue for us. We're grateful again for you allowing us to use your beautiful facility. And of course, thanks again to all of you for attending this morning. And thanks for what you do, not just for Gypsy, but in advance for all you do every day for our remarkable city. So we hope to see you here next year. Thank you, and have a great day.